I just watched a powerful testimony that left a real impression on me. It was the story of Steve Bancarz, a former New Age blogger and spiritual influencer who believed he was God, or that we could all become Christ if we just realized our divine connection. He was only 19, and at the time he had hundreds of thousands of followers online. Steve had influence, money, and spiritual recognition. He thought his success was proof that God was affirming his path. But behind the scenes he was broken, battling depression, addiction, and emptiness. He said something that really stood out. I had all this spiritual knowledge, but it wasn't bearing any real fruit in my life. That hit me hard. Because it's true you can be spiritually curious, deeply philosophical, even influential, and still completely lost. What shocked me most was the honesty in his story. He didn't just dabble in New Age beliefs, he was deeply immersed in it. He believed in reincarnation, aliens, psychic abilities, and ancient astronaut theories. He still included Jesus in his worldview, but it wasn't the real Jesus. It was a version he had created to suit himself, his beliefs, and his sins. Everything changed when he had a terrifying out-of-body experience. A being appeared before him, red skin, black markings, and he suddenly realized he was not in control. The spiritual world he thought he understood was not safe. It was dark, and it didn't care about his well-being. That moment shook him to his core. Steve began exploring the Bible again. He started watching testimonies of people who had near-death experiences with Jesus. Something about their transformation spoke to him. Eventually, he gave in to one of his mother's many invitations to go to church. He prayed, but at first it was more intellectual than heartfelt. But then the weight of his brokenness caught up with him. He couldn't keep pretending. One day he went outside, fell on his face before Jesus, and just wept. That was his moment of surrender. He was tired, sorry, broken, and he cried out to Jesus from the depths of his soul, and Jesus met him. He described it as knowing Jesus was not only present but king over all creation. The wind, the trees, the sounds of nature, they seemed to recognize him. That realization was what convinced Steve that this wasn't just a spiritual feeling, this was God. He went public, apologized to his followers, and burned all of his New Age books. He was mocked, ridiculed, and rejected by the same online community that once praised him. But he found something far more valuable: truth, freedom, forgiveness, and a real relationship with Jesus Christ. His website, Reasons for Jesus, is now a platform for truth. He explains the evidence for Christ, the Bible, and what it means to walk away from deception. Here's what I took away from Steve's story. You can spend your life chasing spirituality and still miss the only one who can actually save you. Jesus is not just another teacher or symbol. He's Lord, he's real, he's personal. If you're searching, if you've ever questioned your faith or felt drawn to spiritual ideas outside of Christianity, I encourage you to listen to Steve's full testimony, and more importantly, open your heart to Jesus. If this video spoke to you, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. This channel is about real stories, real faith, and real hope. And if God can rescue someone as lost as Steve was, then there is hope for anyone, including you. Thanks for watching.